nomination is major. Persons inside of Canada has a major advantage. You might not be eligible for many of the programs that are being provided. You have so many pathways, you don't understand them, and they just sound very difficult. But you just have to take it one step at a time. Hi there, welcome back to the channel. In this channel, I talk about Canadian immigration, life in Canada, and personal development. Now today I'm going to talk about the easiest ways that you can immigrate to Canada in 2025. Now this video is going to incorporate persons who are coming from outside of Canada to travel inside of Canada to immigrate, and also for persons who are already inside of Canada and will be immigrating here. So if you're outside of Canada or inside of Canada, the easiest way to immigrate to Canada is by applying for permanent residency. Permanent residency is the way that you are able to live in Canada permanently in the country. Now, permanent residency actually expires every 5 years and then you renew it. So for persons outside of Canada, you kind of only have two ways that you can immigrate, and that is through provincial nomination and express entry. Both persons outside of Canada and inside of Canada can do both of these processes, but it is prioritized to persons who are inside of Canada. So quite frankly, it is easier for you to apply to come to Canada as an international student or a worker, and then afterwards apply for permanent residency. But let's say you don't want to do that, you just want to come directly as a permanent resident. With that being said, what you can do is to apply through express entry, and there are only two programs that you can apply for through express entry, and that would be either through the federal skilled worker program and the federal skilled trade program. So those are the two that you can apply through. Express entry is all about point system. Now there are cutoff point that they use each and every month or each and every draw. They also have time frames that they do express entry draws, and then afterwards they also have a cutoff on the amount of points that you need to get drawn. Now I'm going to do a dedicated video where I explain how much points you need. Quite frankly, you won't necessarily know how much points you need. You just need to look at the draws, go through it, and see where it's been. So let's say you see draws where they've been drawing persons with 400 to 500 points, and that's been the frame, and you have 300 points, then the possibility of you being drawn and them going to 300 is very low. There's like a questionnaire you can do, I'll link it down below, where you can check to see if you're eligible to apply through express entry. Now this is the way that you can apply and come to Canada as a permanent resident, and this has been how persons been able to travel to Canada. Now in comparison to the United States, you don't need a person to represent you or file for you to bring you to Canada. You can do it all by yourself. So that is one of like the biggest advantages of actually applying to Canada versus the United States with the same permanent residency goal. The next one is provincial nomination. Now there are so many different provincial nomination programs throughout each and every province. You have to decide on which province you want to go to. So many provinces that you can go to, and then each and every one of them have different eligibilities. That's a lot to itself. You just have to do research based on the province that you would like to go to, and then after you are eligible to apply. Now there are some provincial nomination programs which you are not eligible for if you're outside of Canada. That is why I'm saying persons inside of Canada has a major advantage of being here and getting work experience inside of the country. Now once you're inside of Canada, you want to get work experience in tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, or NOC A or NOC B. Those are the job that allows you to be qualified for pretty much all programs that are provided. If you're in tier 4, tier 5, and even some jobs in tier 3, you might not be eligible for many of the programs that are being provided. So that is why it's very important that you actually try to be a part of tiers that are higher, so that you have a higher chance of being eligible for so many programs and have many options on which one to apply for. Now, one of the main things that makes Canadian immigration so confusing is actually because it has so many pathways. You have so many pathways, you don't understand them, and they just sound very difficult. So that makes the immigration system confusing, but you just have to take it one step at a time. The first thing you want to figure out is which province you want to live in. You have to figure it out on your own. Do research, see the different provinces, and see which one you would like to live in. I've done a video where I spoke about some of the nicest cities in Canada. Nicest cities and also cheapest cities. Check out that video where I spoke about some of the cheapest cities right here. I'll just pop it right here. And once you know the province you want to go to, it makes your life a lot easier because it eliminates all the other provinces and we can focus on one province. Another way that you can immigrate in Canada is also the family sponsorship program. Now it's about 1 year as the processing time, but that is not bad. 1 year is not bad to get immigrated into the country. If you're immigrating to the United States, the processing time is about 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. I hear people immigrating. You're not waiting 10 years, you're just waiting 1 year. You can wait. Family sponsorship is available for persons who are married to someone and that person is either a permanent resident or a Canadian citizen. The next way to work towards permanent residence is literally to work towards permanent residency. What that means is to get accepted into programs that allows you to gain work experience in order to apply for permanent residency, and it actually has a program to itself where it leads you into permanent residency. Some of those programs include the Atlantic Immigration Program and Caregiver Program, and it's also the Rural and Renewal Immigration Pilot. So those are some of the programs where you get a job and then it does help you to move on to being able to apply for permanent residency, and it is a straight path where they create that pathway for you, and it's actually like a different application process and it's a different group of people who process those applications. So that's important to keep in mind. The next way that you can immigrate in Canada is provincial nomination, where you get provincially nominated to go into the express entry pool. For example, in Prince Edward Island, after you graduate and you land a job, you can apply for permanent resident with no work experience. That's just one of the nomination programs. So there are many and they are very advantageous. You just have to look into them. So with that point system, all you need to do is apply through the provincial nomination and you get 600 points as someone that is nominated and placed in the express entry pool. Now there is an express entry pool where you first apply, and then IRCC, which is the persons who are responsible for immigration, will look into this pool and they're going to say, okay, everyone that has 500 and more points will be taken out of the pool and be processed. Now you can get a maximum of 1,200 points. 600 of these points is just to be nominated, and the next 600 is for everybody else. So this is why nomination is major, because you're moving from 600 to getting another 600, put them together 1,200, versus this group of people who does not get nomination, don't get any of that 600. So you're already at a major advantage once you get at least that nomination. So getting nomination is crucial, but it can be a long process because many people are now aware of it and have been applying for it. Now, the harder ways to get immigrated to Canada would be, for example, applying for study permit. So let me talk a little bit about getting a student visa at this point in Canada. I previously moved to Canada as an international student since 2020. And since then, a lot has changed, and it has changed to the extent where they have significantly reduced the number of students who they allow to travel to Canada. How they've been able to reduce the number is by, first of all, having you apply for an attestation. And for example, the government will tell the province, okay, you can only give out 1,000 attestations. Now, after this 1,000 attestation is finished, that's it. You won't have any more for that year, and nobody else can apply to travel to Canada. Now, the thing with this attestation is that after you move on to actually apply for student visa, they also make the process extremely rigorous to make it very difficult for persons to actually get accepted. So pretty much if you have even one red flag in your application, rest assured you will not get a student visa. So that is why permanent residency becomes easier, because with permanent residency, you just need to prove that you want to stay in the country long term and you'll get it. That's pretty much what it is. The only ways that persons have not gotten a permanent residency is from like misrepresentation. They literally lie and they find out and then they lose their status, or they just don't get it. Or you do your paperwork wrong and you accidentally misrepresent, you're still going to lose out like that. You need to do your paperwork accurately, and it's just those type of ways you don't get it. But with temporary resident, they want you to prove that you will leave the country. That's a lot harder to prove versus to say you want to stay. It makes more sense for every person who lives in the third world countries. It makes sense why you would want to live here. So it makes permanent residency a lot easier. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Definitely take a look at the video I did previously where I spoke about the jobs that are in demand in Canada. And remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos all about life in Canada. I'm also going to be doing specific videos where I go more in depth about express entry, how exactly to apply and things like that. So if you're interested in that, definitely subscribe to the channel. Click the subscribe button and also turn on your notification so that you get a notification when I post another video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.